Miami against Trump. The Latino people challenge the power of Trump. The Latino people of Miami challenge the power of Trump, a fight for democracy. Miami and several major cities across the United States have become the stage for massive protests that challenge the policies of Donald Trump's administration. On President's Day, thousands of citizens took to the streets with a clear message. Democracy is in danger, and they will not allow their rights to be eroded by a government they consider authoritarian. At the heart of the protest, the Latino people have played a leading role. From the iconic Freedom Tower to the Torch of Freedom in downtown Miami, protesters made their discontent heard with slogans like "Not my president" and "President, not king," in rejection of the measures taken by Trump in his first weeks in office. These actions, which include the dismantling of social programs, attacks on freedom of expression, and the persecution of immigrant communities, have generated strong rejection in a city with a large Latino population. The rejection of authoritarianism and policies that affect the most vulnerable communities has united citizens from different sectors. Activists, organizations, ordinary citizens, and representatives of the Democratic Party agreed in their concern for the future of the country. Among the protesters was Marisol Centeno, an independent voter who expressed her frustration. "We accept that he was elected, but his government is not behaving like a democracy. They can't take away our rights or fire essential workers." The day of protests was not limited to Miami. In cities like Tampa, Orlando, New York, Washington, and Connecticut, thousands of people gathered in defense of democracy and in repudiation of Trump's management. The 50-51 movement, which represents 50 states, 50 protests in a single day, has been the strongest demonstration against the Trump administration to date. This citizen uprising has shown that the rejection of the new government is not isolated or a minority, but a massive and organized response. In several cities, protesters carried American flags upside down, a symbol of a nation in crisis and the urgent need for resistance. The protests were also directed against the influence of tycoons like Elon Musk, who's been singled out for his support of policies to dismantle government agencies and cut social programs. Banners with messages like "Nobody elected Musk" made clear the protesters' concern about the growing concentration of power in the hands of the business elite. Political and social tension in the United States has reached a fever pitch. The wave of protests across the country reflects the concern of millions of citizens about the direction the nation is taking. Protesters are demanding that Congress act to counter the authoritarian measures of Trump and his administration, as well as to guarantee the protection of fundamental rights. In Washington, nearly 2,000 people gathered in front of the Capitol, demanding an end to what they consider a coup by the ruling elite. The day was dominated by clear messages: neither kings nor oligarchs, education, not deportation, and deport MAGA, in reference to the far-right rhetoric that has marked Trump's government. The American people face a long struggle in defense of democracy. The mobilization of citizens, particularly the Latino community in Miami, represents a powerful message. They will not allow their rights to be taken away without resistance. The future of the United States is at stake, and the fight has just begun. The protest in Miami is not an isolated event, but part of a growing trend of political activism that has gained strength in recent years. The city, with its cultural diversity and its history of fighting for immigrant rights, has become a key point of resistance. March organizers have stressed the importance of staying united and continuing to pressure the government to prevent measures that affect the most vulnerable communities from being implemented. In other cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, and Philadelphia, the protests took on a similar tone. Thousands of people gathered in the main squares and streets with flags, banners, and megaphones demanding changes in immigration policy, in the distribution of resources, and in respect for human rights. Social media has played a crucial role in organizing these demonstrations. Through platforms like Twitter and Facebook, citizens across the country have coordinated efforts to take to the streets and make their voices heard. The hashtag #ResistTrump has been trending for days, reflecting the level of commitment and determination of the American people in their fight against what they consider an undemocratic government. The impact of these demonstrations has not only been felt domestically, but also internationally. Governments of other countries have expressed their concern about the direction the Trump administration has taken, and have called for the protection of human rights and the preservation of democracy in the United States. As the protests continue and discontent grows, the question many are asking is, how far will Trump go in his authoritarianism? The answer, to a large extent, will depend on the resistance that the American people, with their diversity and their fighting spirit, are able to offer. The battle for democracy is far from over, and for many has just begun. President Trump's imposition of tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and the BRICS countries has sent shockwaves through the global economy. These tariffs, intended to protect American industries, have provoked a significant reaction. Countries like Mexico and Canada, historically close allies, now find themselves in a precarious position. The tariffs have led to increased prices for consumers and strained diplomatic relations. In Mexico, industries ranging from automotive to agriculture are feeling the pressure, with potential job losses on the horizon. Canada is also grappling with the economic fallout. Trade relations, once robust, have been clouded by uncertainty and tension. The imposition of tariffs on steel and aluminum has disrupted supply chains and increased costs for manufacturers. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are also responding to these economic challenges. These emerging economies, already navigating complex global markets, must now contend with additional trade barriers. Retaliatory tariffs and trade wars seem inevitable, further destabilizing international economic relations. As these nations push back against Trump's policies, the global community watches closely. The implications of these tariffs extend beyond mere economics. They symbolize a shift in international alliances and power dynamics. The world is witnessing a pivotal moment where economic policy intersects with global diplomacy and geopolitical strategy. The impact of these tariffs is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our world. As the fight for democracy progresses, so too does the fight for fair and equitable trade. The question remains, how will these economic policies shape the future of international relations? Stay tuned as we continue to explore the consequences of these tariffs and their role in the broader battle for a just and democratic world.